In this episode, I'm here with digital marketing celebrity Baer, who's created 5 multi-million-dollar companies and was recently inducted into the Word of Mouth Marketing Hall of Fame. He is the president of Convince and Convert, a consulting firm that helps the world's most iconic brands like the United Nations, Adidas, 3M, and Oracle turn their customers into volunteer marketers. A New York Times best-selling author of 5 books, Jay is the host of the acclaimed Social Pros podcast. He's also an avid tequila collector and a certified barbecue judge. And today, he's going to be sharing all the great things we learned in the book, Hug Your Haters, with you.
If you own a gym or you need a gym, this is your guy.
My name's Mike, and I help fitness studios that are ready to take action, work hard, and grow their studios. In this very saturated industry, there's tons of competition, but the opportunities are incredible. We'll cover the most common challenges in the fitness world and invite guests in the show that have learned to overcome them and share their strategies with you. This is the GSD Show. This podcast is sponsored by Causely. Causely helps fitness businesses get new members while giving back. We've partnered with Causely to give back to kids in need with this podcast. And here's how you can get involved. Each time you review this podcast on iTunes or share the episode post on Facebook, a meal will be provided to a child in need. It's that easy. Everyday actions can make a difference. Thank you for helping us give back, and to learn more about how Causely can help you grow your business, visit Causely.com. Again, that's Causely, spelled Causely.com. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Arce. Welcome back to another episode of the GSD Show, and I am here with Baer, the #1 recognized person when it comes to customer service and using social media to really create customer advocacy.
That's what my mom says.
That's what you're. So I can't wait because I've read both your books, Utility and most recently Hug Your Haters. I read this one again to be able to get some really great stats because it was full of stats. We're going to go over a lot of them today in the show, and you've done a lot of research. So talk about really quick the research and the companies that you've interviewed to get all this stuff from, because the people that are watching, I want you to understand that this stuff isn't our idea of how customer service should be done. This is what we've learned how customer service could and should be done.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. It's great to be on the show. You know, customer service has changed a ton in the recent past because of the rise of social media, ratings and review sites, discussion boards and forums, etc. And so I decided to not just write a book based on what I think people should do in customer service, but to actually put real math around it. So I partnered with a company called Edison, and we did a huge study on the science of complaint. So we talked to thousands of Americans and looked at who complains and why they complain and where and how and what happens. And so we discovered that the most important thing that a business can do today is to answer every complaint in every channel every time, instead of what businesses typically do in the real world, right? Which is to answer most of the complaints kind of when they get around to it in the channels that they prefer. And that's not good enough anymore. And so the research for that project became Hug Your Haters.
Got it. And you know, the interesting thing is you've addressed a problem that people don't think the problem exists, right?
The best kind of problem, one that people don't think they have.
They don't think they have. And so there's a lot of people that are watching, that are listening, that are probably thinking, I don't know, I don't have a customer service issue. Customer service isn't one of my problems.
Nobody thinks it is.
Nobody thinks it is. And I've yet to meet, there's 2 things that people think they're great at in local business. And it's almost 90, I would say almost 100% of the people we talk to in the local business world. One, I'm good at closing. They all think they're great at closing. Right. Oh, all I need is people to sit in front of me. If they could be in front of me, I'll close all day. That's one.
Yep.
And the second one, which your book really addresses, is, oh no, our customer service is great. We are the best when it comes to that. We take care of our customers. Our customers love us. The experience is awesome. We just need more people.
Nobody thinks they're bad at it because that would call into question sort of your fundamental values as a business owner, as a business manager. But the reality is that people aren't as good at customer service as they think. There's research from Bain that we cite in the book that says that 80% of businesses, say that they deliver exceptional customer service, not pretty
good.
Superior customer service, not okay, superior. But only 8% of their customers agree, and that totally makes sense in the real world, right? Like, how many companies do you support or you interact with where you're like, oh, those guys are superior at customer? It's crazy. So that's the biggest issue, is to understand that, you know what, you're probably not as good at customer service as you think. That doesn't make you a bad person or a bad business owner. It's just true.
Hey, Sam. Hey, man, I'm trying to do this intermission, but it's freezing here. You think you can lower the AC for me, please?
No,
What do you mean, no?
I can't do it.
You can't do it. It's freezing. I can't shoot the shot.
Don't blame me. It's not my fault. That's the policy in this department.
All right, so Sam here just used 4 words of what Jay says 13 words should never be used when replying to a customer. And if you want to learn what those 13 words are, then go to thegsdshow.com/E057. Again, that's thegsdshow.com/E057. This way you don't make the same mistakes that our Sammy boy here made. Thanks, and back to the episode. Right. Well, there's a difference between setting or meeting expectations and providing superior customer service. So, if one of the things we talk about is if I go into a Paradise Bakery or some sort of a sandwich shop, and the selling point is, hey, if you come, the food is reasonably priced, it tastes pretty good, the tables will be clean when you sit there, and when you're done eating, we'll clean up the mess.
Yeah.
Well, those aren't superior things. If any of those things weren't done, I'd complain.
Yes.
Right? If the food wasn't good, if it was unreasonably priced, if it wasn't clean when I got there, and if I had to clean up my own mess, I would probably complain.
Yep.
So you're just barely meeting
That's right.
the minimum expectations. Superior is that next step up.
Absolutely.
And you talk about some great companies that do it. Give me some examples of superior.
I think most people, if you ask them, well, let me say it this way. If you ask people who does superior customer service, you hear a lot of the same names. You hear Zappos, you hear Amazon in some cases, you hear Southwest Airlines, you hear Ritz-Carlton, you hear Disney perhaps, companies like that. And the reason you hear so few names is that superior customer service is actually really, really rare, right? And so what I hope is that when people who run fitness studios read this book, that they can make some changes to how they handle customer service. So when somebody says, who delivers amazing customer service, they're the company mentioned. Because why should it be Zappos or Ritz-Carlton or Nordstrom? Why can't it be you? It can be you. Right. It's actually not that hard.
Right, and it just really takes understanding what the the customers want when they do this. Because complaints, and when you talk about haters, just really quick, define haters. Yeah. And then define on-stage and off-stage haters.
So in the language of the book, a hater is somebody who complains about your business. Okay. Now, when we think about haters in popular culture, we think about somebody who is massively negative, right? Or unfairly negative, perhaps, or jealous. Now, that's not what I mean in the book. I mean anybody who complains. But look, let's just be honest. Answering Complaints is a terrible book title, right? Hug Your Haters is a very good book title. So that's the reason it's called Haters in this context. So don't feel like we're only talking about people who really are jealous or haters.
You've defined it differently for
anybody
your book.
Who complains about your business in the book is a hater. Now, there are 2 types of complaints, 2 totally different types of complaints. There are off-stage complaints, which take place in private. So those are people who call you or email you, or face-to-face, right? They come in and, can I talk to our manager? Really, those 3. 60% of all complaints nationally are off stage in private. 40% of all complaints, though, are on stage, which means they're in public. So that's people who complain on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, local review sites like Yelp, in particular, Google reviews, and discussion boards and forums. Maybe like a local discussion board, Nextdoor, those kind of things. So with 40% of complaints happening in public, that changes the economics of customer service quite a bit, because at that point, customer service becomes a spectator sport. It's not just between you and the company. There's a bunch of other people looking on who could become customers, could not decide to become a customer, etc. So customer service is really now marketing. It has a lot of impact on your actual success beyond just keeping that one customer happy.
So when let's say somebody reviews, and what we've learned through the research that you've done, for these on-stage haters, 55% of the complaints happen on review sites like Yelp and Google reviews.
Google reviews, more so all the time.
Right, and 21% is on Facebook.
Yep, a lot of Facebook.
And the remaining is through everywhere
Twitter,
else.
Instagram, etc.
Right. So those are the 2 platforms that are really important to take a look at.
Yeah, and I'd say for a local business, right, in the fitness industry, I'd look at Yelp, Google, Facebook.
Okay.
I'd make that sort of the triangle of focus.
Got it. Okay. And what we're going to do, guys, we're going to talk about the type of complaints that the average fitness studio, independent gym owner might actually get, and then how we can properly address those. But before we do that, I want to talk about why it's so important that you guys really pay attention to this and start adopting this. Customer retention is an issue in the fitness space. In fact, there's some really great data.
The issue.
It is the issue.
It's more important than getting new customers.
Right. And
because the only reason you got to get more customers, unless you're a brand new open, the only reason you got to get more customers is that you're not good enough at keeping the ones you already have.
Right, because there's capacity at one point, right?
Yeah.
MindBody did a great study at their conference, the Bold conference last year, and it showed that the average fitness studio, the average, not the best, the average fitness studio is able to retain 10% of their customers for a year. So that means if you signed up 100 customers on January 1st...
10% for a year? So 90% are gone within 12 months?
So if you sign up 100 customers on January 1st, the following year, the average fitness studio is going to only have 10 of those original customers. Now, they'll sign up 5 or 6 per month, new ones, 10
of course.
And at the end of the year, they'll have...
That puts so much pressure on your sales and marketing.
pressure. The best fitness studios are retaining 30 to 50%. Yeah. The best, right? So you could see
that's
it's an
a
issue.
huge difference, right?
Huge.
10 to 30 to 50 in terms of what kind of pressure that puts on sales and marketing is enormous gap.
Right.
Huge.
And the reason
it's 30
2 bad
months of sales and marketing.
Right, and the 30 to 50 is because it's the type of fitness, right?
Yeah.
Versus, more personal versus group.
Sure, of course.
But what you talk about in your book makes a ton of sense, which is an increase of 5%, just 5% in customer retention could boost profits by 25 to 85%. Yeah. So break that down as to how that math
There's
works.
a huge magnifying effect when you keep customers. Because customers who stay longer than 100 days are 200% likely to stay for 3 years.
Okay.
Right. So once you get to 100 days, there's new research in a book coming out soon called The First 100 Days by Joey Coleman, which I really recommend. You should have him on the show too.
Okay.
When the book comes out. So what Joey's research says is that if you get to 91 days, you've got them. Okay. Right. And the same thing is true in my research that if you can keep somebody, not only do you then get a much higher lifetime value out of that customer, but then they start telling their friends about how much they enjoy the experience. And then that word of mouth does your marketing for you. And because of all those things, you have to spend considerably less money on sales and marketing, on operations, et cetera. So it not only saves you money, but makes you money on the other side.
When you guys are doing marketing and you're deciding on how much you're going to spend to acquire a customer, let's say you say, okay, we want our acquisition cost to be $200. We don't want to spend more than $200 to acquire a customer. That math is usually determined based on what your average lifetime customer value is, right? So if let's say your average lifetime customer value is $1,000, you determine you pay $200 to get that, great. But what if you can make your lifetime customer value $2,000, $2,200? Yeah. But that happens by retaining them for longer.
Absolutely.
And there's more than that too, because if you can hang on to them for even 20, 30% longer, that time frame allows for more opportunities for referrals and upgrades and add-ons as well, which increases your revenue. However, your research showed that over $500 billion is invested in marketing each year globally, compared to just $9 billion invested in customer service. So why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, number one, it's sexier to do marketing than customer service, right? I mean, customer service kind of feels sort of boring. Like, I was out there, let's go get some more customers. It just seems more fun, right? And that's part of it. And the other thing is that customer service and retention really revolves around two things, right? So retention includes customer service, and in many cases, making some operational changes, right? Mm-hmm. So let's fix the things that make people want to leave anyway. And that can sometimes be kind of difficult and not very fun either, right? And then there's also sort of the issue, I think, of training and emphasis in business, right? So how many shows are there? How many podcasts? How many blogs? How many conferences are there about sales and marketing? Mm-hmm. Like, how many books are there about sales and marketing?
Right.
Like, I mean, it's like limitless, right?
Right.
How many conferences, podcasts, shows, books are there about customer service? Like, way smaller.
Right.
Right. And so that, is that a reflection of emphasis, or is that driving that emphasis? It's probably a little bit of both.
And I guess too, like we talked about earlier, people don't know they have a problem.
Yeah. Why would I want to book on customer service?
Yeah. I don't invest in it if I don't think it's addressing a need.
Yeah. I mean, I've this book is sold really, really well. In fact, my publisher can't believe how well it sold in the customer service
Right.
category, because most people are like, why would I want to buy in customer service? I don't need a book. I've already got customer service figured out.
You know, I notice a lot of companies too, in their marketing strategy, will invest more money to acquire better customers.
Yes.
Right? Because they feel like the quality of the customer will determine how long they retain that customer. But what you talk about in your book is there really is no such thing as a bad customer.
Right.
So what do you mean by that?
Well, there's this philosophy in business, especially in recurring revenue models like fitness studios, where it's like, well, okay, if this customer is unhappy and they're going to leave anyway, or maybe they complain a lot and they're sort of malingerers, you're like, you know what, we want them to go. Their revenue isn't of value. We can replace them and it's fine. And maybe you can, but at some point you can't, right? Especially in a saturated market like fitness studios, you can't always say, we're just going to go get the next customer and it's fine if this person goes out and it doesn't come back next month. At some point you're going to run out of that opportunity, or at least it's going to get more expensive to do that. And so I don't believe there's such thing as a bad customer. I just think there's a misplaced emphasis on customer acquisition instead of customer retention.
We talked earlier about review sites and how 55% of the complaints happen on these review sites, like Yelp and Google reviews.
Yeah, consumers love Yelp. Business owners hate Yelp. That's sort of the standard truth, right? You know, like, oh, they always feel like Yelp doesn't treat them fairly, or their reviews are consumers are unfair there, etc. So.
Well, you know, you actually had interviewed one of the main guys at Yelp. Yeah. And he had said that over 70% of the reviews are actually 3, 4, and 5-star reviews.
Yes.
But to the business owner,
they see the negatives. Of course.
They dwell on the 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Right? So
because you feel like somebody's telling you your baby's ugly, right?
Right.
You know, when somebody says you get a 1-star review of your fitness studio, it's like a gut punch, right? You're like, no. Right? And here's the reality, right? There's very few. Look, customer's not always right, but the customer should always be heard. And I don't believe there's such a thing as a review that is totally false. Now, the customer may have a different interpretation or a different expectation, but you know what? If the customer's expectation is wrong, whose fault is that?
Right.
It's your fault. If the customer doesn't know what to expect, that's your fault. You're not good enough at communications. Mm-hmm. And so usually this idea that, well, this customer is a liar, or this customer had an experience that's isolated, none of that's true, right? You know what? Let me tell you something that I've learned in 25 years. Okay, and I hope everybody hears what I'm going to say in the next 2 minutes. I've been self-employed for a long time, and I've worked with thousands of companies. And there's one thing I know is this: praise is massively overrated. Praise is the most overrated thing in business, because every time somebody says to you, Mike, you're so great at this, Mike, you're so great at that, oh, Mike, you're the best, it makes you feel tremendous. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't teach you anything, because in almost every case, we already know what we're good at. What makes you a better person, what makes you a better business person, what makes you a better husband and father and friend is negative feedback and criticism. The best companies in the world embrace complaints because it's the raw material for getting better. If all you want to do is have people tell you how great you are, you're never going to be better than this. Yeah. Right? The best companies crave complaints.
They want the
because
surveys.
They want to know. If somebody's having a bad day or a bad experience or doesn't like their membership, they want to know. They desperately want to know. Mm-hmm. Because if somebody doesn't tell you, you can't do anything about it.
Right. You know, here's the thing.
Yelp's your friend, man.
Yeah, and you know, Sam and I were talking about this where I can't think of one person that I've ever met in my life that's the type of person that goes, oh, I'm going to make this business life hell today.
Yeah, I think they're out there probably, but not very many.
But you know, most people, they don't want to be known as the bad customer.
Right.
Most people don't want to be the bad client, the bad member.
Yeah.
Most people would like to say, I'm their favorite member here.
Yeah.
I'm their favorite customer. I'm the one they said they wish they had 100 people like me.
Yeah.
Right? Most people want to be that. So when you think about that most people don't want to be a bad customer, when they're complaining, you got to listen to that.
Yeah.
Because they're not here to mess with you. You either messed up in the beginning and not setting good expectations, or they're giving you some really good information here that you can use to adjust your business.
Here's an example. And I just had a call yesterday with a client in a different industry, but and they're a big company. I mean, they're in 26 cities, that kind of thing. And I said, hey, so you get a fair amount of feedback from customers, right? I said, yeah, well, where do you get that feedback? Well, we get it on the phone, we get feedback on email, we get feedback face-to-face, we get feedback on Facebook, we get feedback on Twitter, we get feedback on ratings and review sites. I'm like, okay, well, that's 6 sources of feedback. is that feedback across those sources written down anywhere and then analyzed to see commonality of trend? Nope. I said, well, then how do you know what you need to fix? Well, every once in a while somebody will say something, it'll get surfaced to a manager. I'm like, look, anecdotes are not data, right? So you need to first and foremost, like every time somebody says something, whether it's face-to-face to a manager or a trainer in a club or on Facebook or Yelp or TripAdvisor or Google reviews or any other place where people are commenting about your business, first thing you got to do is write that down. I don't care if it's a Post-it note. Like you've got to collect that feedback so you can say, hey, you know what's weird? We've had 3 people in the last 2 weeks comment on the bathrooms. Maybe we should do something about the bathrooms, right? Your customers will tell you what to fix. You just have to listen harder.
Right, exactly. And people are, when they review online, in a lot of cases, it's because they felt like they weren't heard initially.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because email and phone, when that's the off stage,
Yep.
right?
Private.
And it's private. And usually it's because they want the problem solved. They want a resolution.
A specific issue.
And they expect a response.
right.
91% of the time, you said phone and email, they're going to expect a response. And but with social media, when they post something about your business, they only expect it about 42% of the time.
They don't respond. They don't expect to hear back from you as much, partially because it's sort of like I am warning other people, right? You actually see that sometimes on a Yelp review. I want to warn other people about this restaurant, right? You'll see that exact language. And it's not necessarily that they expect the restaurant to get back to them. They just want to be on record. So it's a different dynamic there. But what's amazing about that is because they don't necessarily expect your business to answer, when you do reply to a Google review, which you can do and most people don't, when you reply to a Facebook comment,
Yelp.
which a lot of businesses don't, Yelp, of course, and other places like that, it blows their mind because they don't expect you to treat it like a telephone. And when you do treat it like a telephone, you're like, wow, these guys are really on top of it.
Now, I would say most business owners, just like customer service and the sales, they all think they're good at that. Most business owners think they're really good at being accountable and taking ownership of something they've done wrong. But there's a difference between saying, I'm sorry, and I'm sorry you feel. Right?
Yes.
And so what I would like to do is, I'm going to give you an example of a complaint that somebody might leave for a fitness studio.
Okay.
And I would like you to give me your ideal response.
Ooh, exciting.
Right? For that, what a fitness
An
studio
interactive exercise.
should say.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Good.
Okay?
Yes.
So here's the complaint by Mike Arce.
Oh, is this real? Is it a real story?
No, but I'll
just want to make sure. Okay.
It helps me
Understand.
create
Get
it.
into character. Get your motivation.
I'm getting
right.
into character for
Right,
myself.
okay.
So Mike Arce says on Yelp,
Yes.
this fitness studio has sold way too many memberships. I can't find a class time that actually fits my schedule. It's chaos, and they need to stop signing people up and focusing on sales because it's ruining the experience. I'm now canceling and joining the gym next door.
Perfect. Okay, so first thing you always want to do in answering any complaint is to thank the person for the feedback, because feedback is really valuable. So you would say, Mike, thank you very much for bringing this to our attention, or actually to my attention is better because it's more human. So Mike, thanks very much for bringing this to my attention. The second thing you want to do is acknowledge the potential accuracy of the complaint. There's no question that there's times that we are busier than would be ideal here at Name of Fitness Studio. Then you want to ask for slightly more. If you want to get a little bit of a clarification. It sounds as though you are trying to come to a particular type of class, and we don't offer those classes when it's convenient for you. Is that correct? Right, which then encourages them to get into more of a dialogue.
Right.
So you always want to have that kind of qualifying statement in there.
Okay.
So then you go on to say, what we'd love to do, because we want to make sure that you're getting as much value as possible out of your membership, is please come in and sit down with me for a personal consultation. We'll talk about all the things that we have to offer here and also give you a preview of the next quarter's class schedule so we can make sure to accommodate the things that you're looking to do when you want to do them. Here's my name, here's my phone number, and I'm the general manager, whatever the position may be. Love to talk about this, that kind of thing.
So now, like you mentioned, it's not just great because you're making that person feel heard. You're making them and their issue feel real and important. But you're also, for onlookers,
which
that
could
were
be
concerned,
lots of people potentially.
Which could be lots of people. When they see that complaint, they may be initially concerned that they may have that problem.
Right.
But when they see this, they go, wow, this gym really does care about solving this problem.
Yep.
And so maybe it's not that big of an issue.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That is excellent. So, and you go over quite a few different examples. I
Yeah,
think you
from
had
different
like 10
kinds. One of the
different
things we
examples.
did in the book is I interviewed dozens and dozens of companies, but I was really particular about that, Mike, to make sure that we've got case studies in there of small businesses and big businesses and B2B and B2C and service-based businesses and recurring revenue businesses, so that there's examples in there for everybody, and that was very much on purpose.
Right. I'm going to fly through some stats here real quick and kind of like a surge round.
The lightning round of math portion.
Round.
Okay, I'm ready.
Yep.
Do I need a calculator for this?
No,
Okay,
you're good. Because I took so many notes from your book. You had more stats in your book than I've seen in any book, which is
We actually
great.
have a poster in the middle.
I know,
about
the
stats. It's called the
Hatrix, right?
Hatrix.
The
Yeah,
Hatrix.
We'll put this in the camera. Is the Hatrix.
Yes.
Which has the summary of all the good stats there.
Yes.
That you can, and people actually tear this out and put it on their desk to refer
Really?
back to the stats. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going to do that. So you have 19 I'm sorry, let's just go through this. More men complain more than women.
Yes. Overall.
80% of 25 to 34-year-olds have complained publicly compared to 58% of respondents 65 and older.
Yeah, people who are younger tend to use, and no surprise, right? They tend to complain more in social media and plaplaces like that because they use social media more.
Right. When people complain through phone and email, they expect to reply 91%
Yes.
of the time, 42% when they complain on social media.
Yep.
Just 32% of people who have complained on social media are happy with the time it took to get a reply on that channel.
Yeah.
That's despite that 63% of the complaints addressed are done within 24 hours. Today, 39% of the that complain on social media want to reply within 60 minutes, yet the average response time is 5 hours.
Yeah, I get
for a
that question a
business.
lot from businesses. Like, okay, if we're going to answer people on Facebook and Twitter, and you definitely should, how fast should we do that? And my rule is always, look, figure out a way to do it within an hour, right? And that may require you to have multiple people in your studio participating in social media answers. But if that's what you need to do, that's what you should do.
Another stat, according to a 2015 research by Bright Local, which is a local search engine optimization consultancy, SEO, 80% of American consumers say that they trust online reviews as much as personal recommendations in some circumstances, which is up from 67% in 2010. And
Yeah.
you said it climbed up?
It's up to 82 now.
So how does that work?
Well, look, I mean, so much stuff is being bought online now. And even if it's not bought online, it's researched online. And with people having access to information at all times in their pocket through their smartphones, in almost every case now, people, unless they're just kind of foolhardy with their money, are going to check ratings and reviews before they buy anything. Whether they're going to be a fitness studio or a couch or a sweater or a cheeseburger or a hotel or a car or an insurance company, they're going to look at ratings and reviews. And so we believe ratings and reviews to be accurate. And in fact, some 75% of Americans say that word of mouth and ratings and reviews have had a considerable impact on their most recent purchase. So this idea, and I hear this sometimes from small business owners, that, well, Google reviews and Yelp and that kind of thing, nobody really cares. It doesn't really impact my customer base. No, it totally does. Like,
Right.
It really does. Like, people care. So there's a lot of friends of mine, Mike, who are small business owners, and even though I wrote this book, still don't answer their Yelp reviews. And I'm like, dudes, like, I wrote a whole book proving why this is
Right.
true. Like, what is your deal? And they're like, no, we just want to not get into it. People are going to say whatever they're going to say. I'm like, fine, but I mean, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. Crazy.
Right. To close out, this is one of my favorite parts of the book, and it's great because it's important for people to really understand this. In the book, you say, we've become a world of critics. We are able to evaluate and share our feelings in a moment's notice via different forms of media. We can tape it. We can shoot an image of it. We can shoot an image of it and retouch it. We can add a comment and we can tag the brand in it. We can tag the brand in the actual location we're experiencing it. We are now trained and taught to put a critical eye towards everything. Social media is a petri dish for first world problems.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and I think it's important to acknowledge that people will complain about stuff in social media that they would not complain about on phone or email, right? And so you get kind of lightweight griping in social in a way that nobody's going to spend the time to call about that.
Right.
But they'll be like, "Wah," right, in a Facebook post or a tweet. And so you just have to keep that in mind as a business owner. Like, okay, it does matter because they are taking the time to communicate that to the whole world. But it's different than somebody sitting down and being like, I'm writing out this whole email, tappity tap tap tap. That's a much more like, I want an answer right now.
Right.
So you got to take all the social media stuff with a little bit of grain of salt. I still believe, as is in the book, you got to answer every complaint in every channel every time, but do not get down about it. It's the hardest thing to do, right? Is to not let the critics or the haters, in the language of the book, kind of drag you down psychologically.
Right.
But you know what? Negativity is not the end of the world, and in some cases, it's actually good. It tells you what you can do better. Negative reviews are believed more than positive reviews, so it's not the end of the world if somebody gives you a 1-star Yelp review.
Right. This episode was really important to me to have because, like you said earlier, the majority of the content out there is on sales and marketing, and people look to our company to really help produce those results, get new opportunities in the door to help grow their studio. And our mission is not to help you with the best marketing plan, but to help you grow your fitness studio and independent gym. And if we can show you how to retain people more and the value of customer service to be able to retain more, improve lifetime customer value, the marketing can do so much more.
Every new customer then grows your business instead of replacing a previous customer.
Keeps you
Absolutely.
floating. So Jay Baer is the man. He is the best of the best. I literally hunted down the best to be able to produce this episode.
And the best couldn't make it, so he got me. Thank you. I appreciate that, Mike. That's
he
fantastic.
is the best. And he's got this book and utility. He does talks around the world. He's got more flyer miles. You talk about that in the book than anybody. And so, guys, I hope you appreciate this episode and really value the content in here and also the importance of really learning more about this kind of stuff, because I really think that's what's going to separate you from everybody else. It's not so much of having a better marketing plan than the next guy, although that's not bad to have, but it's also having an overall better business, well-rounded business than the other guy. That's what's going to put you over the edge. So thanks again for coming on board. I appreciate it, man. See you guys next time, and enjoy your day. Thanks so much for joining us today. If you like this episode, then subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher, and to our YouTube channel to never miss an episode. You can get all the links by going to thegsdshow.com. Thanks, and see you next time.